All right, welcome. Today we're diving into what might be the longest running, most exclusive film ever made. Seriously, it's a movie you've been starring in your entire life, and you probably didn't even know you were on camera. So let's just start with this question right here. Have you ever noticed this? That your mind is constantly narrating, framing, and, editing your every experience? If you're nodding along, yeah, you're definitely not alone. So let's get into it. The whole idea we're exploring today has a name that's, well, it's pretty much perfect. We're calling it the Me Movie. The meditation teacher Larry Rosenberg just nails it with this quote. He says, our mind is constantly running this feature film. And in this movie, every single job, from the lead actor to the gaffer to the person choosing the music, is played by one person. And that person is you. This is such a great way to put it. Our mind is the ultimate indie filmmaker, right? Kind of like an amateur auteur, completely obsessed with its one and only subject, us. So what really happens when you're the star, the director, and the critic of your own life's movie? Well, as you can probably guess, things can get a little messy. Just look at the credits. They roll on, and yup, there's your name again and again. When you have that much creative control, it almost always leads to this intense, all-consuming level of self-preoccupation. And the end result of this one-person show is pretty much exactly what you'd expect. Tons of drama. And let's be real, a whole lot of melodrama too. When we're living inside the movie, totally lost in that first-person point of view, we're not actually present. We're just reacting to a script our own mind wrote for us. Okay. But here's where it gets really, really interesting. The movie itself and the star of that movie, you, might not actually be what they seem. Turns out there's a huge illusion at play here. Think about how a film actually works for a second. It isn't one continuous fluid thing. No way. It's just a bunch of still frames, right? Shown one after another super fast. Our brain does the hard work of filling in the gaps to create the illusion of smooth motion. Well, guess what? Our sense of self works the exact same way. It's just a series of separate thoughts and moments that our mind stitches together to create the feeling of a solid, continuous me. So, this is the big reveal. That feeling of a solid, unchanging self, it's pretty much an illusion that our consciousness creates by filling in those gaps. And this isn't just some fringe philosophical idea. It's something neuroscientists can actually see in brain activity, and it's something Buddhist practitioners have been exploring for thousands of years. So, if we're all stuck starring in this movie, what are we supposed to do? Well, the answer isn't to try and shut the production down. It's actually to just change your seat, to go from being the star on the screen to being a member of the audience, just watching. And this is exactly where mindfulness comes in. In the context of our movie metaphor, mindfulness is just, it's the practice of noticing that the me movie is playing and then just watching it with a bit of distance, instead of getting totally swept up in the plot. So how do you actually do that? Well, first, you just learn to spot the elements. Notice the thoughts, the feelings, that inner narrative that's always playing. Second, you practice not taking that main character, you, so seriously. It's just a role you're playing after all. And third, you start to look for the gaps, to actually see the space between the individual frames of the film, those little quiet moments between your thoughts. And just like any other skill, this takes practice. But the more you watch your own movie from the audience, the more you start to realize that the smooth, continuous self you always thought was so real is, it's an illusion. A very, very convincing one for sure, but an illusion nonetheless. So, what's the whole point of all this? What actually happens when we stop being so hypnotized by our own personal blockbuster? The goal isn't to just erase yourself or become some kind of blank slate. It's actually the total opposite. It's about getting past the flat, two-dimensional character you see on the screen so you can finally connect with the dynamic, fluid, and ever-changing reality of who you really are, beyond the story. Which really just leaves us with one final big question to think about. When all the drama finally fades and that constant inner narration gets a little quieter, who are you when the credits finally roll?